Yo, if you tune in to me, you know you watching Gully TV. First off, I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year, happy Kwanzaa, and just an overall happy holiday season. As y'all know, I've been snowed in, so I've been a little bit, you know, my progress been hampered a little bit. We got hit with 65 inches of snow out here in Pennsylvania. But the show must go on, and I promised y'all a piece on Shorty Pop, Sheldon Watkins from Washington, D.C. When you watch the piece I did on him, you're going to learn that Sheldon Watkins wasn't his real name. You're going to learn a whole lot of undiscovered shit about Shorty Pop. The reason why I brought y'all here is to let y'all know that during the course of putting my piece together for Shorty Pop, I had to go through a lot of old case files, pictures, old blogs, just a tedious research process. And I'm up to it, but during the process of constructing this piece on Sheldon Watkins, the complexion of it changed. And what happened was this. Shorty Pop was a kid. You dig? Shorty Pop was a kid. Alpo said in his interview that Shorty Pop was 15 years old when he met him. That's a baby. That's pre-puberty almost. While doing my research and putting this piece together and shit, I started to view Shorty Pop intimately. Again, when I say intimate, when I use the word intimate, it's not a sexual thing. You can be locked or engaged in intimate thought with somebody. I was locked into an intimate thought about the welfare and basically, essentially, the childhood of Shorty Pop. I read a lot of the cases that he was charged with, and the brutality involved with some of the cases that he did, like the situation that he allegedly did at the skating ring at that skating ring out there in Temple Hills, Maryland. Somebody got a headshot, and the shooter stood over the victim and fired several more shots into this person. This case that happened at this skating ring eventually was attributed to Shorty Pop, and I just wondered what could make a kid, a 15-year-old, or anybody in their teens just go off to the dark side like that. I've looked at numerous pictures of him and tried to understand what comes out of poverty and shit. I can just from how his story unfolded, I can almost assume that his parenting was fucked up. Maybe his folks probably was getting high or was totally absent from the home. And I started to look, the further and further I looked at some of these cases, I started to look at him as a victim, like he was robbed of something. And I feel he was robbed of something. I feel he was robbed of a childhood. When you hear a guy like Alpo Martinez say, "My little man Pop," and he's speaking of this guy in reference to murder, I'm not saying that Alpo turned Shorty Pop to a murderer. According to Alpo, Shorty was already doing his thing when he met him. But I feel Shorty Pop's name association with Wayne Perry and Alpo launched him off into infamy, compounded by the fact that he was a hip-hop artist signed to Def Jam with the Junkyard Band. I took a time to look at the world in the 1980s, during these years that Washington was known as the murder capital of the United States, I looked at other cities during the same time period, and it was almost mind blowing that it was like a Shorty Pop in every city, major city at the time. There was teen killers all over the United States at the time. Case in point, Kurt McGirt out of Detroit, Young Boys Incorporated. There was a bunch of teenagers. By the time Kurt McGirt was like 15, 16, he might have been Detroit's most wanted. He was a part of the A-Team. That was Butch Jones' hit squad. He was essentially a baby. These guys, Shelton and Kurt McGirt, at the ages that they were doing this shit, they probably should have been somewhere in school, in a recreation center, playing with Nintendo, chasing girls, experiencing regular kid shit. Me, myself, I happen to be, I won't call myself a victim now, but I fit right in there amongst this preteen crime wave that existed in the 80s, in the late 80s and the early 90s. And a lot of times, as kids, we made our own decisions to associate with certain people. And when I look at my situation and shit, I feel like I don't regret it at all. The years that I spent in the street getting money, I don't regret it at all. But I feel that I was robbed of something. I remember when I went to college, sitting in a dorm with, athletes, basketball players, football players from all over the United States, and they had their pictures of the prom and homecoming and shit like that. I didn't have none of that shit. You dig? I never wore a cap and gown. I don't know what that's like. The part, where the corsage and shit, taking a girl to the prom, I was robbed of all of that because of my life in the streets. I feel the same thing happened to Shorty Pop. He lost his life. He was murdered, I think, in 1992. Probably because of some misdeeds that he did prior to his actual murder. He probably was killed, karma for deeds that he had done prior to him being executed himself. Again, he was talented. I look at footage of him performing with the Junkyard Band, him dancing and beating on a tambourine, performing. If he started like that, or if he was in that right there says that he had a level of talent, creativity, and potential. For him to go from entertainment to being a murderer, somebody made an error, an adult made an error. And because of that, I can't get on here and glorify Shorty Pop's short life. I tried from different angles to put together this piece for y'all about him, but there's nothing to talk about. He's a killer. That's what he did with his young life, and he was gone. Just like that. I think we should take special care of our talented youth, and we should help them cultivate their talents and not look for angles to manipulate them for money, power, etc., etc. I just wanted to get on here and share that with y'all about Pop. So when y'all get this piece about Pop, it's not going to be a glorification of you know, the notorious hitter from DC, Shorty Pop. It's gonna be my next offering in 2018 about Shorty Pop. It's gonna be packaged as a report about teen killers, and we're gonna talk about Yummy out of Chicago. We're gonna talk about Kurt McGirt out of Detroit, and we're gonna talk about Shorty Pop. Because if you look at it in totality, they were all juvenile killers. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what could cause a child to go that route. You know, it's not going to be no speculation. It's going to be me speaking from the heart. I'm going to have facts with me. I'm going to have statistics with me. I'm going to have footage with me, of course. And y'all stay tuned. So I just wanted to tap in with y'all right quick. Shout out to my sponsor too, Hustle Nerd Apparel. Shout out to you, my nigga. They got some real wavy shit. We gonna make it cool to be intelligent again. You dig? So that's what I'm on in 2018. Literacy. You dig? Health, wealth, and do it yourself. Can you dig it? Y'all follow me on Instagram at The Real Gully TV. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. And of course follow me on Twitter at Gully TV1, man. I'm up out of here. Sheldon Watkins from the Junkyard Band. Talk about it.
I know of Pop. I heard about him, what he was doing. Maybe I had an encounter one time, or maybe twice, let me say that. You know what I'm saying? The first time, I was out of pocket because they was beefing with some Southeast niggas around East State back.
You can make funky music with an open spring, blow into a steam pipe and listen to it sing. Then just start a drumming on an old trash can and put it all together just like the Junkyard Band. We're all together playing in the band. We're all together, come on and clap your hands. We're all together playing in the band, yeah. We're all together, come on and clap your hands.
Yo, Stem, you ready, man? Here we go.
Here they come. Yo. What's up, man? What's up, man?
Things started getting kind of crazy for me. I was into, like my little man Pop, I was introduced to him by some other cats, and he was a young, wild 15-year-old kid coming out Southeast that was killing anything moving. And he just wanted to be up under somebody that was going to look out for him. Okay. So I wound up taking him up under my wing and looking out for him, and through him I wound up meeting another cat named Wayne Perry.
Get it in the gear, Arnold. You don't want to be late for school.
I don't think I want to go to school today, Willis.
Why not?
On account of the gooch.
Gooch?
Now this kid here, I mean, he had the town on lock, and I mean, he had the town locked on fear and was putting his murder game down. You hear me? Anyone who mentions his name knew, when they mentioned his name, they mentioned murder in the same sentence, because he was about his work. And didn't have no problem with talking about it and telling everybody, and didn't care. And if you tried to go testify or tell on him, he was getting you. So the young kid Pop wound up coming to me saying, yo, my man is in jail, this and that. So his bail was like something, I think I had to pay like 10%, which was like $10,000. Okay. I wound up giving up the whole $10,000.
It was horrific. The police had very few leads to go on. They struggled and struggled with the investigation for some time, but there were no real witnesses to it.
The epicenter of that violence is Greenleaf Gardens, a housing project on K Street. The drug trade has reduced the neighborhood to chaos, according to Detective Steve Kirshner.
Crack cocaine hit the city hard in '85, '86. Along with that came a lot of violence. The homicide rate went sky high. I believe it started out mostly from jealousy of who was making the most money. There were kidnappings, assaults, just led to a very violent area.
Buyers, many of them from the suburbs, made the dealers on K Street rich. The area provided few economic opportunities, so the lure of easy money proved a powerful recruiting tool.
The area was deadly. Numbers that we have compiled over the years of the investigation showed that this was probably one of the most deadly areas in the District of Columbia. It's very close to some of the government buildings in Southwest Washington, which was interesting in that there's an incredible amount of crime going on in a small area so close to a downtown business district.
The FBI and DC Metro Police formed the Safe Streets Task Force. Their job is to clean up a neighborhood that has become a war zone. The gang is led by Vincent Hill, a ruthless sociopath who seems to thrive on violence.
If somebody came up and irritated him for any reason whatsoever, he had no problem grabbing a baseball bat, a hammer, anything he could, and hit them with it.
Hill's money and his brutality make him the most powerful man in the neighborhood, according to Metro Detective Neil Trugman.
He compared himself to a big-time mob figure. There was no fear.
According to FBI sources, Vincent Hill runs the K Street crew with an iron fist. Still, gang members respect him.
Vincent Hill had a reputation for being a bully, but at the same time, others looked up to him because they saw that he had money, he had nice clothes, he had fancy cars. While he's manipulating them into selling drugs, they would see him beat somebody up for not giving him enough money. So all of these things kind of led the others to look to him as somebody that you didn't want to mess with, you didn't want to challenge, but at the same time, he was a way that they could make money.
Because I seen the bigger picture. Right. I said, if I get this kid out and the reputation that he has, then all that'll come on my side. Right. So I wound up giving up the whole 10, and it was a 10 well worth it. So I wound up getting him out. I didn't really step to him as soon as I got him out. I just let it be known to my little man. We wound up.
15-year-old man know him?
Because my little man had an uncle that knew him. Okay. So my little man had the reputation of being wild and about his business. father's dead. So his uncle was wild too, my little man's uncle. And him and the kid Wayne knew each other.
Okay.
So, and then Wayne, that's how he met him, and Wayne knew what my little man was about. So, you know, killers respect killers and all that type of thing. So, we wound up hooking up, and we became real tight, me and the kid Wayne. And, you know, I got a lot of negative feedback. A lot of people were like, yo, we ain't really trying to mess with you like that because you got the kid Wayne running with you. Because a lot of dudes was scared of this dude. You know, it was little things going around like, yo, if you go get coke from the kid Poe after you get the coke, he puts the kid Wayne in them on you. So a lot of dudes were scared, but they was just doing that because they were scared of him, and they was really upset to see him out of jail.
Right.
So they was like, you know, they was hoping he'd stay in jail.
Right.
So they really feared this dude, and this kid was a real good dude, man. He was a loyal dude, man, and again, so he really respected that I got him out, and he felt that I owed him. Okay. He felt that he owed me. Okay. So one thing led to another, and he became I'm not going to say my lieutenant because he didn't really have anything to do with my business. He had something to do with it, but he didn't handle the drugs and none of that stuff. He handled more of the security aspect of it, like if it was time to put the murder game down.
Yeah, we had him murdered. I went to pick up some drugs in New York, and when I came back, I met up with Pop, and he told me that he had just killed Blake.
Okay. This is the part of my job where things are gonna get a little tricky. I once heard a pastor say that the hardest sermon that he ever has to preach is preaching the eulogy of somebody who wasn't shit in life. And my position with Shorty Pop is kind of similar. I gave y'all the highlight of Shorty Pop's career, his life, his young life, appearing in a movie with Run DMC, having a somewhat of a hit record with the Junkyard Band. But after that, it's nothing but chaos. There's nothing. I don't have anything. I dug and I reached, and I'm sure there's people that love Shorty Pop. I encountered his son on Instagram. But I really dug and I reached and I tried to find positive things to say about him because, like I said, he was a kid and he was misguided. But everything that Shorty Pop did after music was bloodthirsty and as brazen as somebody who would be a protege of Wayne Perry. Wayne Perry, Alpo, Shorty Pop, they all birds of the same feather. You dig? They're killers. There's nothing else there's no other way, there's no other adjective that I can reach for to describe Shelton Walker. Shelton Watkins was an alias that Shorty Pop used. That's not his name. His name is Shelton Walker. He was born in Washington, D.C. He's out of the Berry Farms housing projects. Again, he's somebody that would run with Alpo and Wayne Perry. But, my opinion is that he was a kid. He grew up in a certain type of environment. Only the real can relate to shit that a hungry man will try. So there's no telling what type of early childhood parenting Shorty Pop had that would produce a bloodthirsty killer. His hits, he documented that you can Google and research and read about. He got 3 murders on paper. There's no telling how many joints he got away with that, just ended up being a part of the 1989 District of Columbia being the murder capital of the United States. Shorty Pop was himself assassinated in 1992 outside of the Classics nightclub. People close to me, the sources that I have, I was told that he might have been killed in retaliation to the Matthew Blake murder. These names that you hear on my platform, Tony Fortune, Sam Carson, Vincent Hill, you can Google all of these guys. They're Washington, D.C. street gangsters. This piece that I did on Shorty Pop, because he was a kid, it turned into me packing